You're listening to Soundside. I'm Libby Denkman. But first, at the start of every week, I sit down with another journalist to talk about the biggest news developing right now and how it affects the Pacific Northwest. And the biggest news is that the Seahawks are Super Bowl champions.
Yay!
We won Super Bowl 60. Kat Smith, politics editor for KUOW, is here with me. And Kat, what level of sports fan or Seahawks fan would you say you are? Can you capture that for us?
I'm an odd choice for this segment. I had to literally ask you this morning, Libby, is Cooper Kupp a trophy?
Yeah.
I could have just Googled it, but
You
instead
did
I
ask that.
humiliated myself.
No, that was beautiful because here's what you're the avatar for the every woman. You're the avatar for the non-sports fan who's looking at this through a cultural and political lens.
Yes.
And you live downtown.
It's hard not to get wrapped up in this.
Absolutely.
You know?
And there's nothing wrong with leaving the sports talk to the experts. Our names are not Brock nor Salk, and we will be just fine talking about the politics, the culture, everything else at play.
This is a huge cultural event.
It's it's the television event these days. So let's get to our top story.
3, 2, 1. The Seahawks win Super Bowl 60. They are bringing the Lombardi back to the Northwest, and the party begins at Levi Stadium and in Seattle, and it won't stop for days.
That's right. The party begins. That Lombardi trophy, not the Cooper Kupp. Not everybody, only experts know this. It's the Lombardi trophy. Welcome to the dark side, Patriots. That was as close to total domination as you were going to see in a Super Bowl. I don't want to hear everybody saying it was boring.
I would never say such a thing.
I don't want to hear it or see it on social media. All of these other fans from around the country saying, oh, this is like a Thursday night football game. No, winning the Super Bowl is fascinating, and it captured my full attention. Sure, it took us until the fourth quarter to actually finally score a touchdown. That was the Sam Darnold to A.J. Barner throw. That was set up by the Derek Hall strip sack. Things started to snowball. Julian Love picked off that Drake May pass.
I paced around my apartment. I literally started pacing because I was so excited.
Yeah, it just started to kind of look inevitable in that fourth quarter. Devin Witherspoon's blitz forced the pick six that Uchenna Nwosu ran back for a touchdown. Incredible game by Kenneth Walker III, your Super Bowl MVP. The defense was undeniably the catalyst, but I was just talking with producer Jason Burrows before we started here. The offense led by Sam Darnold did not give up a single turnover in the postseason. That is the first time an NFL team has done that in the postseason. Going from, we were high up on the list, like second in the league for turnovers, going from that to being basically perfect on offense throughout the postseason. Incredible achievement. Kat, I know you're not a big football person, sports person in general, but a celebration like this, it goes beyond sports. I mean, what does this mean for the city?
Oh, yeah. This was a revenge game for the Seahawks. They lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl in 2015. And a record number of people may have tuned into this game to watch this rematch. Nielsen is still tabulating the numbers. I tried to look them up this morning, but it looks like early numbers say they could be on pace to outstrip last year's Super Bowl, which saw an average of like 127 million viewers across streaming and TV.
Wow.
And it be like you mentioned, Libby, I live downtown. I was watching downtown, and it seemed like the whole city of Seattle was watching. When the Hawks won, downtown was positively electric. I mean, the place exploded, literally. I could see from my apartment.
Fireworks,
the Space Needle fired off like blue and green fireworks for what felt like a full minute. People were coming to their balconies to cheer. People on the street were screaming and hollering. Every car horn and bus was honking, and even the ferries blew their horns. It was just one of those magical Seattle moments.
I heard that the Seattle police had to ask people many times to get off the pergola.
They did not listen.
The pergola is very fragile, folks. We gotta respect the pergola. I love when people are climbing up on lampposts and things like that. Just not the pergola.
People were climbing trees and telephone poles too. And I think, you know, there's going to be a parade Wednesday through downtown as well. I feel like the city really needed this win. You know, I was thinking about what this means for Seattle. And our pandemic recovery, we're still talking about it. It's been lagging behind other cities by some metrics. Our downtown hasn't fully recovered yet. Return to office has been slow. Lots of offices are empty. There's been round after round of tech layoffs recently. Yeah. I think there's been this tough to shed narrative of whether Seattle is dying. And right now, I think it's safe to say Seattle's back. We are so back.
And Wednesday on 4th Avenue, Seattle will be very back. That's where the Victory Parade is going to be. This is going to start around 11 a.m. There's going to be a celebration at Lumen Field, and then following that, the parade. You know, I was at the Victory Parade in 2015 back in the day, and this was like, you know, a wild party, 70,000 people in the streets. This was Marshawn Lynch on the Ride the Ducks boat truck thingy, the amphibious vehicle, with all of the seagulls with their pom-poms out the window, and Marshawn is at the front of the Ducks throwing beads, throwing Skittles. Like, it was also an incredibly cold day. This is going to be a lot more temperate, I hope, for folks who are out in the weather on Wednesday. But we'll bring you more about that parade.
And we'll have reporters at that parade.
We'll have people. That was me back 12 years ago. I was the person stationed out in the street. So just really quick, I want to run through a couple of these players reacting to this win. Jackson Smith and Jigba post-game.
It's always fun to watch them. We know they got our back. You know, they're the best in the world, and we know we're going to get opportunities to score, but it starts with defense, and defense wins championships, and we got one today.
Defense wins championships. Linebacker Ernest Jones IV.
Told my dad, man, beginning of this year, or before he passed, man, this is going to be our year. And look at this, man. I'm just thankful.
I have to say, though, the post-game interviews, a lot of those guys, Ken Walker III, for example, he's not a talker. He doesn't want that mic. It's in such contrast to kind of the star power, the like really brand building of the Russell Wilson, era, Richard Sherman, Marshawn Lynch, Bobby Wagner era. But these guys are showing it on the field maybe a little bit more than off the field, like we saw in the Legion of Boom era. Okay, on to story number 2.
God bless America. Sea Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana.
All right, Bad Bunny giving us a geography lesson and also a Puerto Rican party. Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, a.k.a. Bad Bunny. He brought us a celebration of Puerto Rico, Indeed. Starting in a maze of sugarcane fields. He rolled through a bunch of his hits, blending Latin trap and reggaeton, also bachata, salsa, all kinds of influences. And he ended with an emotional shout out there to all of Latin America. Kat, your thoughts about this halftime show first, before we get into the ways that it's just been put in the blender of our culture wars. Can we just talk about the show itself? What did you think?
It was just plain fun, to be really simple. It was high energy and joyful, and there were all those surprise cameos, like from Cardi B, Ricky Martin sang, Lady Gaga was on stage, and the details in that set were kind of jaw-dropping. That there was a bodega replica, and it had like a little EBT sign in the window, like you might see on a real bodega window in real life. And there was a moment where we had a little flash of a Paragua stand, like shaved ice. With all the different bottles of flavored syrup that you pour over the ice. I moved to Seattle from Spanish Harlem in Manhattan. I lived there for about 7 years. And that Bad Bunny show and all the details in the set made me miss El Barrio so much. But I think that my favorite part was that nod to Puerto Rico's troubled power grid. There was that moment where
the power lines when they climbed
the power poles,
and there was that like spark, that lighting thing.
My phone just started exploding with text messages from people I know who've been following that scandal for years. A climate reporter named Alex Kaufman, who's a friend of mine, I used to edit him back when I worked at HuffPost. He had a great thread on some of the island's power woes in roughly the decade since Hurricane Maria. So last night, Alex reminded us when that performance was going on that that Puerto Rico hasn't had reliable power in like about a decade. Blackouts are super common. Yeah. In summer, these frequent outages mean, unreliable AC, which is dangerous in a country that runs hot in the summer. It's got an aging population. And he also mentioned the situation's so dire that an aging coal plant supposed to be shuttered is going to get kept open for longer because the island is in such dire need for reliable electricity. And this is an issue that Bad Bunny has sung about in his lyrics in the past. He's skewered the government's response to natural disasters and the poor performance of the island's power grid. And I read a piece in Politico this morning saying that Puerto Rico actually has the least reliable electricity of any place in the United States because it is a part of the United States. There's supposed to be billions in federal aid that's available to help restore their grid, the damage that's been done through hurricanes. And the island's government in 2019 decided that it was going to try to overhaul that grid and go big on renewables like solar. But that hasn't worked. That plan isn't going well. They're far short of their energy transition goals. And there's billions in federal aid that's just sitting around unspent.
Yeah, I think that he's getting a lot of attention, Bad Bunny, for the Ice Out speech that he gave at the Grammys about a week ago. And a lot of people expecting that there would be like a really huge ICE or immigration message in this performance. There was even a false story going around, a rumor going around that he had given the Grammy during the performance to Liam Conejo, the little boy in Minnesota who
With
had
the bunny
been,
hat,
yeah,
the blue bunny hat.
who.
But that wasn't him.
That
right?
was not him. That was a false. That was a false rumor on social media. But I think it speaks to the expectation that people had for this performance. That they were looking so hard for like a really overt, direct ICE message, and instead, like you said, Bad Bunny brought us an emotional. Heartwarming look at Puerto Rico and Latin America as a whole. I mean, we went to a wedding, which was a real wedding.
Yeah.
A boxing match, a dominoes game with the old guys playing dominoes.
Right.
There was the trip to the bodega.
Yep.
The taco stand. That taco stand, the guy was actually a taco seller in my old neighborhood in Highland Park in Los Angeles,
awesome.
Via's Tacos.
That's so awesome.
So he was pulling from all over Latin America and the Latin American communities in cities across.
It was a love letter to
It was
Latin
a
American
love letter.
culture.
But then, you know, I think the political part of it was more like what you said, the lack of representation for Puerto Rico, the infrastructure challenges. There was also a feminist song, an anthem that he sang that was translates to roughly "I Twerk Alone," which is about basically harassment and sexual harassment in the reggaeton community and how women should be able to go to the club by themselves and
Hell
not. Yeah, I mean, it was like there's a lot of politics at play, and the list of countries at the end obviously showing, you know, we are all Americans together.
And it included North America, included United
Canada.
States, Canada.
Yeah, I saw a lot of funny memes about the Canadians being really excited about being included. He spiked a football that said "Together we are America." But Kat, this is obviously getting a lot of attention on the right. There was a lot of build up to this ahead of time. President Trump apparently watched the Bad Bunny performance because he had a lot to say about it.
Sure did.
In contrast to the competing performance that the conservative group Turning Point USA had organized, featuring Kid Rock and some country musicians. I didn't see so much about what the president thought about that. It was more saying that Bad Bunny's performance was a, quote, slap in the face to the country. I don't know. What did you think? It's hard when you see such an exuberant and fun performance to, you know, bring the politics into it, but it was inescapable.
It was. And a lot of the critique from the MAGA right seemed to be over the fact that the show is mostly in Spanish. Lady Gaga, I think, maybe sang some English lyrics, and Bad Bunny did say some stuff in English.
He said, "God bless America." I think that was basically the only thing he said in English.
But people on the right seem to be really annoyed that it was his primary language is Spanish. He mostly performs in Spanish, and there seemed to be a lot of frustration about that for some reason. My Spanish is absolute garbage, and like you kind of
I couldn't understand anything. Yeah.
You get the vibe. Like the vibe was really fun. Like I feel like you can enjoy a performance that's that high octane without understanding the language. I will say, you know, Trump in his Truth Social post about the Bad Bunny show, he kind of went on this rant, he went on this tangent about how well the stock market was doing. It was kind of like a bizarre like, don't pay attention to Bad Bunny. He's the worst. Look how well
Yeah.
I'm doing in America. And I think part of that, too, is because Bad Bunny has been an outspoken critic of Trump, and he supported Kamala Harris in the last election.
Yeah.
And I think he allowed Joe Biden to use his music while he was still campaigning. So I don't like, there's no love between Bad Bunny and Donald Trump.
But I mean, you just look at the number of celebrities that line up with Democrats generally, and you know, like, and most presidents in the past have been able to kind of just shrug and say, "Oh, that's Hollywood," or "That's show business," and they move on. But this president particularly takes everything incredibly personally. I will just say that, you know, Trump claiming that this doesn't represent our standard of success, creativity, or excellence. Did you see the people dressed as the sugarcane plants who had to run onto the field? They had 7 minutes to set up. That is
cool.
Creativity, success, and excellence that they choreographed that entire thing, the entire maze, all of it, of course, you know, to make a really amazing television experience. You know, I think that was creativity and excellence.
I actually did watch the Turning Point USA alternative halftime show too. Like I watched both. And in contrast, I think because the energy and the level of detail, like the set was so insane, it was a lot more interesting to watch than the TPUSA halftime alternative show, which just seemed very slow.
You mean the Bad Bunny one was more interesting to watch?
Yeah. And so like flipping back and forth between the two, the like, you know, the MAGA endorsed halftime show was like a lot more low energy. The set was really basic. It was like black. It had cool lights and stuff, but it was nowhere near the level of detail that we saw in the Bad Bunny show. And it was mostly, you know, you could probably have guessed, it was mostly like country rock music. And then Kid Rock came out and did like lip sync a 30-year-old song.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't know, it was really different. It was also odd because, you know, it was billed as the all-American halftime show, they were calling it, which is strange because Bad Bunny is an American.
Bad Bunny is an American, as he very eloquently stated.
I didn't really understand that. Also, it was basically a 30-minute commercial for an organization designed to recruit young conservative voters.
Yeah, TPUSA.
TPUSA.
We got to move on because there's something else that people who are non-football watchers watch the Super Bowl for, and that is for Ben Affleck to dust off his commercial chops.
You like donuts?
Yeah.
Well, this is my new boyfriend. How you like these nuts?
I'm Tom.
That
So zany.
was a selection from one of the most star-studded ads, I think the most star-studded ad from yesterday's Super Bowl, Dunkin' Donuts and their Goodwill Dunkin' spot. It starred Ben Affleck, a bunch of unsettlingly de-aged celebrities. It really starred, de-aging process. That was the star of that ad. Jennifer Aniston, Ted Danson, Matt LeBlanc, Carlton from Fresh Prince, who's Alfonso Ribeiro, Jaleel White, a.k.a. Steve Urkel. Jason Alexander was there. George from Seinfeld. Like every big star of 90s must-see TV and their Thursday night NBC lineup. Did you like Goodwill Dunkin', Kat?
I thought it was pretty funny. Dunkin' Donuts is such an East Coast thing, and I'm from the East Coast originally. I thought it was kind of rude because it's like, oh, they're pandering to the Patriots fan base. Obviously, like I felt like there wasn't a good commercial for Seattle or for Pacific Northwest fans. Not like that. Not some star-studded romp through the 90s.
To be fair, Dunkin' has sort of become the new Coke or Apple, where it's like the biggest ad of the Super Bowl for the last couple of years. I feel like has been the Dunkin' ad. So this is becoming a
this
theme.
This is the thing. This is their thing. Well, also, I couldn't help but thinking while I was watching this ad, this was blatant pandering, not just to Patriots fans, but to millennials. The Friends references, Goodwill Hunting, like Seinfeld, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like the target audience here, and for most of the commercials last night, were millennials.
It was remarkable. How many times did we see the Backstreet Boys?
Twice.
It was big. And
I was excited.
And there was, it just seemed like clearly like the Seahawks were the big winners, but also millennial spending power is obviously on the rise and ascendant. I really did. It was fun to see kind of some of the attempts at, a big swing. I liked the Levi's ad. I thought that the iconic butts in the Levi's ad when they, went through the Born in the USA album cover, that was fun. It was a major day for butts all around, let's be honest, because there was also a very prominent prostate cancer screening ad that got a lot of play.
That was very funny.
The Sabrina Carpenter Pringles Leo boyfriend was also a fun one. Budweiser Freebird, the eagle that the Colt raises and then they become best friends. That was a big one. But I have to say the big talking point out of yesterday is that artificial intelligence companies really, really, really want you to like their product and think that AI will work for you.
They are so thirsty. There were I counted 7. I read elsewhere that there were more than that. That I think I saw somewhere that it was about a quarter of the commercials were for AI products or bots or whatever. That's stunning. They're really trying to convince me that I need to use these products in my life. And
did you think any of them were effective?
Look, I feel like I'm so jaded when it comes to advertising where I feel like if I'm being sold to that hard and they're going to such lengths to convince me that I need to use these products, here's how to use these products, trust me, it's going to improve your life in this way, I kind of don't believe them if I'm not already... I don't use AI that much. I know a lot of people do, and a lot of people are making room for it in their lives. I'm kind of a Luddite holdout when it comes to AI, and I was just watching those commercials being like, I don't know, guys, I don't see myself doing this. So I wasn't convinced. It didn't convince me, and it felt like they were trying too hard.
I thought the Chris Hemsworth Amazon Alexa ad felt like the most fun, but also sneakily subversive of all of the people who are worried about AI. It was kind of a send-up of people thinking that AI will turn into Skynet, right? And kill us all.
Well, I'm a little bit of an AI doomer, so I appreciated that they were like, hey, I see you. We see you back there, doomer.
But it's okay. The point was that you are being ridiculous, right, for thinking that.
Don't market through my fear.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Gemini, I thought, was the most emotionally manipulative.
Was that the one where they were like, here's how you could change your kid's bedroom?
The kid who's worried about moving, and you can show how the bedroom in your new house will look with all of his things, and the kid will be reassured by this AI, Gen AI image. I just really quickly want to give some context to this in our last couple of minutes. Amazon last week announced its fourth quarter earnings. During that call that the capital expenditures are expected to reach $200 billion in 2026 for Amazon spending on AI infrastructure. Wow. That's more than $50 billion more than analysts were expecting.
Wow.
The stock dropped like a rock, and it is still, the last time I looked, it was still down. Altogether, the big tech companies, Microsoft, Google, Meta, Oracle, they are going to spend in the neighborhood of $700 billion on AI infrastructure. So data centers, power for data centers, things like that this year. 2026, $700 billion.
They really want us to use these products that they are racing ahead to build.
They absolutely need you to use these products and prove that investment is worth it. Mm-hmm. And if they don't do that fast enough, this AI bubble situation is going to get very real very fast. So if you want to know why we're seeing so much convincing, so much expenditure on that side of things, just look at Amazon stock today, look at those earnings calls, look at how much is being invested in AI infrastructure right now and how nervous people are getting about whether the use case will catch up with that expenditure. Okay, really quickly, we just have a couple of minutes left, but I want to get one more story in on Front Page.
Let's do it.
I have to thank the organization led by John Schneider and, of course, the team, the players. We love you guys. We love the legends, led by Mike McDonald.
That's Jody Allen, sister of the late Microsoft co-founder and Seahawks owner Paul Allen, who hoisted, the Lombardi Trophy, not the Cooper Cup. She chose not to lift the Cooper Cup yesterday. Just in our final minute here, there's been a lot of questions about her future with the team, whether the team will be sold after the Super Bowl. The Wall Street Journal broke the story late last month that the NFL had fined the Seahawks $5 million for being out of compliance with ownership rules because Paul Allen's trust setup allegedly does not comply with a one owner rule that the league has. His holdings are all eventually supposed to be liquidated and the money is going to go to philanthropic causes. But Jody has said that timeline could be 10, 20 years. I mean, these estates take a long time to unwind. if the team goes up for sale, that's a big if. Allen and the Hawks have both denied this, but the speculation is rampant that this team could go for $9 billion, maybe, which would smash the record for an NFL franchise.
I mean, there's never going to be a better time for them to put this team up for sale than after they
Sell
just
high?
won a Super Bowl. Yeah.
I mean, that's what a lot of folks are speculating about is if you want to get the maximum amount of money to go to those philanthropic causes, if you are Jody Allen, then yeah, that would make a lot of sense. At the same time, it feels like other NFL owners are kind of putting the pressure on for reasons that aren't entirely fair. I mean, according to Jerry Brewer, at least in The Athletic, he kind of suggested that this was a competitiveness thing, that they look at her askance because she's not one of them. A lot of questions about the future of these Seahawks as we go into a big celebration on Wednesday.
Speaking of which, if we have a minute, did Jody Allen get booed when she was on stage last night? Guys, I thought I heard booing.
No, Kat. Again, Cooper Cup. People say Coop. That's what, Cooper Cup was on the screen.
I'm never gonna live this down.
You're really never. Kat Smith, you did so great today. Thank you for being here for Front Page. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Libby.
And go Seahawks. Thanks for listening to Soundside. Don't forget you can listen live on KUOW 94.9 FM Seattle at noon and 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, or anytime online at KUOW.org or on your favorite podcast app.